In the farthest reaches of space, humanity fights to survive on a distant planet. But beneath this new world's surface lies an ancient power, one that could either save us or destroy everything we've built. This is not just a story about survival. It's a story about sacrifice, betrayal, and the relentless human spirit facing the unknown. When long-buried secrets begin to awaken, the line between hope and destruction fades. At the heart of it all is Commander Layla Cruz, a leader shaped by loss, driven by hope, and ready to face a destiny far greater than herself. This is Shadows of Legacy, the story of humanity's fight for its future. The colony ship Ardent Horizon finally reached Elisera, a planet no one remembered but everyone feared. As the massive ship descended, Layla stood on the bridge, her eyes locked on the planet below. Years of war and loss weighed on her, but so did a fierce determination. This mission was humanity's last chance. As settlers began to unload equipment, strange tremors shook the ground. Lights flickered, systems malfunctioned. The planet felt alive, watching, waiting. Layla's communicator buzzed. "Commander, sensors detect unusual energy readings near the southern ridge." She frowned. "Get Dr. Elias Monroe on the line. If the old archives are right, we're about to uncover something that could change everything." In a quiet lab, Dr. Monroe scanned ancient alien data recovered from Elisara's ruins. "This technology, it's not just advanced. It's sentient. It's calling to us." Layla's voice was steady but fierce. "If it's alive, it could be our greatest ally, or our deadliest enemy." A distant howl echoed through the colony's speakers. A warning from the planet itself. Humanity had arrived. But their true trial was only beginning. The biting winds of Elisera howled through the metal corridors of the Ardent Horizon, a constant reminder that this alien world was far from welcoming. The colony, a fragile patchwork of human ambition and desperation, stood precariously against the unknown. In the days since their landing, unease had woven itself into the very fabric of life here, a silent tension threading through every whispered conversation, every cautious glance cast toward the horizon. Layla Cruz moved among her people like a steady flame in the growing dusk of fear. She watched their tired eyes, the lines etched by sleepless nights and restless dreams. They had come searching for hope, a new beginning for humanity, but something ancient stirred beneath the surface, something far darker than any of them had anticipated. The ground beneath their feet trembled with a slow, steady rhythm, subtle at first, almost like a heartbeat buried deep within the planet's core. But with each passing hour, the tremors grew stronger, reverberating through the colony's foundations, rattling nerves and breaking the fragile calm. At the heart of the command center, Dr. Elias Monroe sat hunched over his console, fingers flying across the holographic display as streams of alien data scrolled relentlessly before him. The glowing symbols seemed almost alive, pulsing with an energy that defied explanation. Layla approached quietly, her voice low but firm. "Elias, what exactly are we dealing with? These signals, what are they trying to tell us?" Monroe looked up, eyes shadowed by exhaustion and the weight of uncertainty. "This technology isn't just old, it's primordial. Older than any civilization we've ever encountered. These signals, they don't behave like simple transmissions. They're alive in a way. It's like the planet itself is reaching out through them, but why? And for what purpose?" A flicker of something fierce crossed Layla's face. "If this is a consciousness, something beyond our understanding, we can't afford to wait. Are we just going to stand here and hope it leaves us be? Or do we take control of our fate?" Elias sighed, the sound heavy with a mix of fear and awe. "Our shields are weakening. Whatever's beneath the surface is changing the environment on a fundamental level. We're losing ground, fast." Before Layla could respond, alarms ripped through the station, shrill and urgent. The entire colony shuddered violently as the earth below them groaned and cracked. From the southern ridge came an eerie, otherworldly sound, a low hum growing louder, resonating with the tremors. "Suit up. Now." Layla's command was swift, unyielding. Within minutes, she led a team through the chaos to the ridge, where the planet had torn itself open. There, before their eyes, a chasm pulsed with an ethereal blue light, radiating waves of raw energy that danced across the jagged edges like living fire. Ancient symbols carved into the rock face began to glow faintly, their patterns shifting in hypnotic pulses, as if breathing. Each flicker mirrored a heartbeat, syncopated with the trembling earth beneath them. Layla swallowed hard, a chill running down her spine. This isn't just energy. It's a message, a warning. Something long buried is waking up, and it wants to be heard. The team exchanged glances, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and dread. Monroe's voice was barely a whisper, thick with realization. "We aren't the first. This planet was never empty. And we're not the only ones here." Layla's gaze hardened, the weight of their precarious existence settling heavy on her shoulders. "We must learn what we're dealing with, or we won't survive the storm that's coming. This fight, our fight, has only just begun." As the glowing chasm pulsed beneath the darkening sky, the fate of humanity on Elisera hung in the balance. Secrets long buried were clawing their way to the surface, and the colony would soon discover that survival would demand more than courage, it would demand sacrifice. The colony on Elisera had settled into a fragile rhythm, but beneath the surface, a growing storm churned, threatening to tear everything apart. Layla Cruz stood alone on the observation deck, the cold glass pressing against her fingertips as she stared into the eerie twilight that painted the sky in bruised purples and smoldering reds. The glowing chasm in the distance pulsed steadily, like the heartbeat of the planet itself, sending waves of primal energy rippling through the ground. For days, the tremors had intensified, unsettling even the most hardened veterans among the settlers. The very air hummed with a strange resonance, a low vibration that penetrated bone and mind alike. Whispers had begun circulating, tales of shadows moving just beyond the perimeter, glimpses of figures that seemed to flicker in and out of sight, almost as if the planet was alive and watching. Inside the command center, tension gripped every corner. Dr. Elias Monroe's fingers flew across the holographic consoles, his eyes bloodshot but burning with relentless determination. The alien symbols they had uncovered were unlike anything humanity had encountered. Layers of meaning unfolded like a living tapestry, warnings, histories, and something deeper, a message that seemed to warn of an ancient guardian's wrath. Layla's voice broke through the murmurs of speculation, steady and commanding. "We are no longer explorers. We are defenders. Prepare every unit for a possible engagement. We don't know what we're dealing with, but we'll face it head-on." Captain Jaron Voss stepped forward, his jaw clenched with grim resolve. "Scouts have reported movement near the southern ridge, silhouettes shifting in the shadows, too large and deliberate to be natural wildlife." Layla nodded, her mind racing. "We'll need patrols around the perimeter, sensors on high alert. And intel, we need to understand our enemy before it's too late." That night, the colony held its breath. Families huddled in makeshift shelters, faces pale with fear but eyes bright with resolve. Layla walked the dim corridors, her footsteps echoing softly. She remembered the weight of every decision, the lives depending on her. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion shattered the uneasy calm. The station rocked violently, sending sparks flying from exposed conduits. Alarms blared, the piercing cry of danger. "Intruders at the southern wall," Jaron's voice crackled through the comms. "Multiple hostiles breaching defenses." Chaos erupted. Soldiers rushed to their stations, weapons drawn, hearts pounding. Layla grabbed her rifle, the cold steel familiar in her hands. As she sprinted toward the breach, the dark silhouettes emerged, towering figures clad in ancient armor, their forms shifting as if woven from shadow and light. Their leader stepped forward, a figure both regal and terrifying, radiating a cold, almost electric aura. His eyes burned with an ancient fire, and his voice carried the weight of millennia. "We are the Keepers. Guardians of Elisara's forgotten legacy. Your presence disturbs the balance. You must leave, or face annihilation." Layla stood firm, voice unwavering despite the pounding of her heart. "We came seeking refuge, a home for humanity. We do not wish for war." The Keeper's gaze softened for a moment, tinged with sorrow. "Your kind awakens forces long buried. Reckoning is inevitable. Prepare yourselves, for the war to come will decide the fate of all." As dawn broke, spilling golden light across the shattered landscape, Layla looked out once more at the glowing chasm, the silent witness to an ancient conflict rekindled. The battle was no longer just for survival. It was for the soul of their species. The first fragile light of dawn struggled to break through the dense, roiling storm clouds that had gathered ominously over the planet Elisara. The sky was a roiling canvas of gunmetal grays and swirling shadows, crackling faintly with arcs of static electricity, as if the atmosphere itself was alive, tense and waiting for an inevitable release. Inside the colony's command center, Layla Cruz stood motionless for a heartbeat, her gaze fixed on the flickering holographic map hovering in front of her. Every glowing dot, every shifting line on that map told a story of an unseen war creeping closer by the minute. Her posture was rigid, the weight of responsibility crushing but necessary. Her fingers tightened around the cold metal of her rifle, the weapon a small but potent symbol of her defiance against the darkness closing in. Weeks had passed since the settlers first encountered the Keepers, ancient entities whose presence was as enigmatic as it was terrifying. Dr. Elias Monroe's painstaking work to decipher the cryptic symbols left behind by these beings revealed a civilization long buried by time, a civilization that had harnessed powers far beyond human comprehension. Powers that, it seemed, had been deliberately sealed away beneath Elisara's scarred surface. But now, something had shifted. That sealed power was stirring again, disturbed by the very presence of humanity. Elias appeared beside Layla, exhaustion shadowing his sharp features but not dimming the fierce resolve in his eyes. "The more we uncover, the clearer the truth becomes. The Keepers are more than just protectors of this world. They are guardians of a legacy designed to prevent a disaster far worse than any war we've known." Layla's jaw clenched tightly. Then we're trapped between two impossible choices. To honor the past means to bury ourselves alive. To fight for our future means awakening ancient horrors. The room vibrated faintly as tension rippled through the gathered leaders and soldiers. Outside, the hum of the colony's defense systems was a constant reminder of the danger that loomed. Engineers raced to reinforce energy shields with whatever spare parts they could scavenge. Weapons specialists calibrated pulse rifles and plasma cannons, their hands steady despite the rising fear. Every person in the colony knew that soon, the moment of reckoning would come. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook violently, a deep, rolling tremor that felt like the heartbeat of the planet itself, echoing through the steel bones of the colony. The glowing chasm that had fascinated and terrified them since day one pulsed wildly, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls like restless ghosts. Alarms screamed in the command center, their piercing wails mingling with frantic voices issuing orders. Layla's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and unwavering. "All units, battle stations. This is no drill. The Keepers are mobilizing, and they're coming for us." Outside, the sky darkened further as storm clouds twisted and churned, blotting out the sun's weak light. Lightning jagged across the horizon in brilliant, violent arcs, illuminating the monstrous silhouettes advancing from the shadows. The Keepers moved with an eerie grace, their forms shifting between solid and ethereal like ancient statues brought to life by rage and sorrow. Their presence was overwhelming, a perfect storm of ancient power and unyielding purpose. The earth trembled with every step they took. The air was thick with the sharp scent of ozone mixed with something older, something primal, the scent of war, of vengeance, of a legacy refusing to fade into the abyss. Layla tightened her grip on her rifle, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest as she positioned herself alongside her squad on the colony's front lines. The first clash was a brutal symphony of chaos, energy blades hissed through the air, bullets tore into shadowy forms, and desperate cries echoed across the battlefield. Each soldier fought with everything they had, knowing the future of their species hinged on this moment. The Keepers attacked with terrifying precision and unbreakable unity. They moved as a single living weapon, anticipating every move, countering every strike. It was as if their very essence was entwined with the planet, every swing of a blade, every pulse of energy, a reflection of eons of wrath. Amid the maelstrom, Layla's gaze locked onto the Keeper leader, a towering figure cloaked in shifting shadows, his eyes blazing with an ancient fire that spoke of sorrow, wisdom, and unrelenting judgment. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. The weight of countless generations pressed down upon Layla, the crushing realization that this was more than a battle, it was a test of humanity's right to exist. The Keeper's voice echoed, resonant and grave, cutting through the noise like a thunderclap. You have awoken forces beyond your understanding. This is no mere battle for survival. It is a war for the soul of this world, for its future, and yours. Layla's voice was steady, unwavering, laced with fierce hope. Then we fight. Not just to survive, but to carve out a future where humanity's legacy will not be erased, where our defiance will stand as a beacon in the darkness. The battle roared around them, a savage dance of light and shadow, hope and despair entwined in deadly embrace. Each strike carried the weight of destiny, each breath was a defiance against oblivion. As battered sunbeams struggled through the storm clouds, laying golden shards over the bloodied ground, Layla knew one truth with crystal clarity: this was only the beginning. The storm had broken, and with it, the true test of humanity's resilience had begun. The war had scarred the very soul of Elisera. The battlefield lay quiet now, but the silence was heavy, filled with the ghosts of those who had fallen and the echoes of a fury that could never be forgotten. The air was thick with ash and dust, settling over shattered metal and broken earth like a mournful shroud. Layla Cruz stood amidst the ruins of the once thriving colony, her silhouette outlined by the soft glow of the emerging dawn. Every breath she took carried the weight of countless sacrifices. Around her, survivors moved with weary determination, some tending to wounds, others salvaging remnants of what they could rebuild. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fatigue but from the storm of emotions roiling inside her: grief for the lost, anger at the merciless trials they had faced, and an unyielding spark of hope that refused to die. Dr. Elias Monroe approached quietly, the lines on his face deepened by exhaustion but softened by something new, a fragile hope. We've crossed a threshold, Layla. The Keepers weren't just guardians of an ancient past, they were gatekeepers, holding back a darkness that could have consumed us all. We were tested, and we endured. Layla's eyes scanned the horizon, where the first rays of sunlight pierced through the dissipating storm clouds, painting the battered land with golden light. The sky was a kaleidoscope of promise and pain, a reminder that even the darkest nights must end. We survived the storm, she said softly, voice steady yet laced with the weight of what lay ahead. But survival is not enough. We must understand what it means to inherit this legacy, to carry the burden and the hope of a future no one dared to imagine. Her gaze fell on the fallen, not just soldiers but friends, companions who had given everything to protect humanity's fragile foothold on this distant world. Her fingers brushed the worn insignia on her rifle, a symbol of defiance against oblivion. Around her, the colony stirred back to life. Engineers and medics moved with quiet urgency, rebuilding, healing, preparing for the uncertain road ahead. The scars of battle would heal, but the lessons of war would be etched forever in their souls. Layla's voice rose, clear and unwavering: echoing through the command center. This world's secrets are not ours to claim lightly. The Keepers taught us that the past is not just history, it is a warning, a guide, and a challenge. We must honor that legacy by forging a future built on strength, wisdom, and unity. She took a slow breath, the weight of leadership settling firmly on her shoulders. We are not just survivors. We are the architects of what comes next. Our choices now will echo across generations. As the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the ravaged landscape, Layla felt a quiet fire ignite within her, a promise to those who had fallen, a vow to the future. Let our legacy be more than survival. Let it be a beacon in the darkness, a testament to humanity's unbreakable spirit. A soft wind swept through the colony, carrying the distant hum of life rebuilding itself, fragile, fierce, and full of hope. The storm had passed. But from its ashes, something new would rise. A legacy forged not in despair, but in fire.